How have y'all spent the last 2 decades co-opting Black radical imagery, wording, icons, and y'all have never engaged with the actual work of Black radicals? How is that possible? Hey, y'all, how are you doing? I'm great. Thank you so much for asking. We're back. Jay-Z said some things on Twitter Spaces this week that really got the people going. He was on Twitter Spaces to help promote DJ Khaled's new flop, honestly. I shouldn't say that because I don't know if it flopped or not, but the music is bad. God did his new album, and he's showed up on Twitter Spaces before, but this time he decided to give us his thoughts on anti-capitalism. Let us bring it up.
Yeah, we're not gonna stop. This the hip hop is young. We still growing, and we're not falling for that technology, whatever this public puts out there now. That before was the American dream. Pull yourself out of bootstraps, and you can make it in America. All these lies that America told us our whole life. And then when we start getting it, they try to lock us out of it. They start inventing words like capitalists and things like that. I mean, we've been called nigger and monkeys and shit. I don't care. Those words y'all come up with, y'all got to come up with stronger words. When I say y'all, I'm not talking about you. The words they come up with, they got to come up with stronger words. We're not going to stop. We're not going to be tricked out of our position. Y'all locked us out. Y'all created a system that, doesn't include us. We said, fine. We went our alternate route. We created this music. We did our thing. We hustled. We fucking killed ourselves to get to this space. And now it's like, eat the rich and man, we're not stopping. So that evolution is, from us, we came from selling 7 records and selling records out our trunk and, no radio play. And I think Reasonable Doubt did 36,000 the first week or something like that. I may be adding a little to it, so I come from Marcy Projects. My first house, 615 Lexington Avenue. My grandmother's house, 7 families lived. Like, she has 7 kids. My mother and my parents and siblings lived in that house. My aunt Niecy lived in that house. Hootie lived in that house. Butchie lived in the basement. I mean, this is one house. I went back to that house. I did an interview with Oprah, and I couldn't believe how small this house was. That all of us lived in that house. So again, that evolution that you speak of, it's just real and it's happening in real time, and I'm talking about it. And we're not going to stop, and we're not going to stop talking about it. They're not going to trick us out of and make us feel ashamed to be successful in a place that set up a system for us to be dead at 21.
This is funny on so many levels, you guys. It's just okay. So the first thing that we have to talk about is, one, how disconnected are you from the conversations of everyday people to have no understanding of why sentiments like eat the rich are popular? Do you not watch the news? Do you read newspapers? Are you on social media? Do you have no engagement with people who make less than $500,000 a year? Probably not, actually. Probably not, because it's everywhere. Yeah, that is actually really crazy to me. So there's one, what are you doing all day? Okay. Who are you surrounding yourself with? Who are you talking to? And then there's 2, the idea of they all of a sudden just invented words like capitalist to bring Black people down, to make rich Black people ashamed. Do you have access to books? Like, this shit is so crazy to me. Okay, so the first thing that I have to bring up here is I have to shout out David Dennis, who wrote this article a couple of years ago talking about how out of step Jay-Z's politics are with where young Black people are. Because basically he is saying that for a long time, the shiny suit, pop bottles, 90s and 2000s, yes, those images of excess, of opulence, of more, that was the center of young Black people's political orientation. It fit perfectly in with where Jay-Z was, what his aspirations are. But now, as we get 20 years later, 30 years later, more and more young Black people are looking around and saying, wait, whoa, 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 whoa. Capitalism is not this source of pride and optimism. Capitalism is not how people's dreams come true. Capitalism steals dreams. How have y'all spent the last 2 decades co-opting Black radical imagery, wording, icons, and y'all have never engaged with the actual work of Black radicals? How is that possible? And you know what? Usually I keep Beyonce out of it. Usually I do. But how are y'all laying up next to each other after the 2016 when Beyonce invokes the Black Panther Party at the Super Bowl with that, sexy Black Panther iconography, after Judas and the Black Messiah, and y'all not doing no reading. Y'all not picking up Women, Race, and Class. Y'all not reading the autobiography of Assata Shakur. Y'all not reading the work of Kwame Ture. You're not even engaging deeply with the work of Martin Luther King, the most accessible Black radical. Let's bring this up. The forgotten socialist history of Martin Luther King Jr. King believed that a multiracial working class movement was required to overcome the failings of capitalism. In 1952, a 23-year-old Martin Luther King Jr. wrote a love letter to Coretta Scott. I am much more socialistic in my economic theory than capitalistic. Capitalism has outlived its usefulness. This is continuing from the letter that he wrote to Coretta. Capitalism, quote, has brought about a system that takes necessities from the masses to give luxuries to the classes. 15 years later, he wrote, in Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community? Capitalism has often left a gap of superfluous wealth and abject poverty, and has created conditions permitting necessities to be taken from the many to give luxuries to the few. Consistency, MLK Jr. But also, right, I definitely recall Jay-Z at one point rapping, I arrived on the day Fred Hampton died. Real niggas were still alive. What album is that from? And why do I particularly remember that lyric? Fred Hampton was Chairman Fred at the center of Judas and the Black Messiah. Obviously socialist. Like, what's going on? Fred Hampton said, we say we're not going to fight capitalism with Black capitalism, but we're going to fight it with socialism. So here y'all are name checking these people, literally commodifying and building your brand off of your real vague associations, real vague, nebulous associations with Black radical thinking. You never engage their work. You know what really this exposes about Jay-Z? He's not. Oh, how deeply incurious are you? Your Black radicalism, it's only about aesthetics. It's an aesthetic. It's a costume. It's a performance. I don't expect rich Black people to give away their money. I don't. It's not gonna happen. I don't expect billionaires like Beyonce, Jay-Z, or Rihanna to come out and apologize. I'm so sorry for having $1 billion. I think it is very reasonable to expect Black people who say that they care about Black people, who say that they're deeply invested in Black community, that they care about not only contemporary conversations about Blackness, but historic conversations about Blackness and the ways that we have been marginalized and oppressed, to at least be familiar with the ideologies. That's the least you can do. One of these people that you hire, all these people that you've made millionaires, give one of them money to read a book for you and slide you some cliff notes, because that shit is embarrassing. I think that it's important to talk about how young Black people really, really came to popularizing stuff around eat the rich and anti-capitalism. Of course, already knew that Jay-Z was primarily self-interested, not only from his, public positions and postures, but also people who work with Jay-Z say Jay-Z is selfish. First of all, Dame Dash has said this, but even Kanye said...
That's why everybody knows Jay is very selfish. And we had a very
Damn, I didn't know this. Go ahead.
Come on, it's Jay-Z, man.
I got Ace of Spades. I love it. I love him. Go ahead, continue.
No, we all love him, but he's very selfish. And that was he'll say, like, man, I'm selfish. I'm selfish.
Let's go back to 2011's Occupy Wall Street. This was a few years after the Great Recession began, when young people, I mean, young at the time, my age people, and, mostly white, to be honest, set up shop outside of Wall Street in New York City to bring attention to the ways that banking and these huge financial institutions were robbing people again of their futures, of their homes, of their jobs in order to enrich themselves. And of course, what we know about those bailouts after the Great Recession is banks got lots and lots of money to keep themselves afloat. The heads of those banks who knew that they were giving out loans that were shitty loans never got prosecuted. They got money, they got golden parachutes. But all of the millions of people in the country who were kicked out of their homes, what happened to them? The people who lost their jobs, what happened to them? There's a foundation of anti capitalist work, particularly among Black people, Black radicals in the United States and globally. In the United States in particular, there's a lot of momentum around the rejection of capitalism as an ideology and also as an economic system after 2008, for sure. And now we fast forward to 2022 when more and more Black people are saying, "Oh, this is a scam." What happened? Social media. Oh, it's two things, right? It's the economy, right? Still shitty for the vast majority of people, and social media. So more and more access to these ideas in easily consumable, easily digestible ways. That stuff goes viral. People are like, "Oh, wait, we don't have to do it like this. Oh, wait, there's other systems," and people latch onto it. But people would not be latching on to anti capitalism so much if the economy were good for young people. So, again, this goes back to obviously, is Jay Z talking to non rich Black people under 35 regularly? There are a couple of vectors in which young Black people are not doing better off than our parents. Young Black people have a lower rate of home ownership than our parents do. And that's a big deal because in the United States, the primary vehicle for wealth building is home ownership. Actually, there was just an article that came out about this. Okay, 8 cities where at least half of millennials can't afford to rent a one bedroom. Los Angeles, this is the median income of millennials. This is what you would need. Okay. Yeah, look at this. Sad, sad, sad. And by the way, just, y'all know this, but I have to reiterate, people often use millennials to mean like people under 25 or whatever. Millennials, the oldest millennials are 40, grown people who can barely afford to rent a one bedroom apartment, nevertheless, buy a house, acquire wealth. The other thing about people not having access to home ownership is that historically, home ownership is actually the bridge that people walk through to get to more conservative politics. Why is that? Because once you become a homeowner, then you do have to become invested in more conservative politics, particularly politics around policing and the protection of wealth, because so much of our legal system, so much of our financial systems are built around the protection of private property. So that's another correlation between why young people, millennials, and Gen Zers are rejecting capitalism and not doing the, usual straight turn dash toward conservatism because they don't have shit to protect. Of course, we know that during the pandemic, rich people's wealth boomed. Soaring markets helped the richest 1% gain $6.5 trillion in wealth last year, according to the Fed. Oh, this is going back to the idea of more millennials being worse off than their parents. On paper, it looks like Scott Larson is doing better than his father was at the same age. At 29, Larson has a college degree and earns more money, but he doesn't feel he's moving up in the world. When his father, Craig, was 29, he was already married, owned a home in Payson, Utah, and had 2 of his 5 children. Now 64, Craig Larson worked as a mechanical engineer, earning about $20,000 a year at the time, or about $50,000, 500 in today's dollars, even though he hadn't finished college. His wife, Kathy, was a stay-at-home mom. Scott, the youngest of the kids, is a marketing manager for a health and beauty company based in nearby Provo, Utah. Though he earns around $60,000 annually, about 20% more than his dad did at his age, he is living with his parents because he doesn't feel he can afford to buy a place of his own thanks to soaring housing prices. While his dad was able to purchase the house for a little over twice his annual salary, Scott Larson says he'd have to spend more than 5 times his yearly paycheck. So again, there's just not optimism. It's funny that Jay-Z says, oh, this fake idea of the American dream, if you understand it's fake, then why don't you understand why people are rejecting it? We have this idea in the United States that guides so much of policy. Okay, we don't have time to go into neoliberalism, girl. I have to get my hair done. But most people don't really have a problem with the idea of entrepreneurship, right? Start your own business. Maybe you can own it. Maybe you can hire some people. Generally, people would prefer a more mixed economy where people can have their own stuff, do their own stuff, not have to go to the corporate overlords every day, but also have enough government oversight and regulation and a government that makes sure that people aren't going to starve or be kicked out of their homes for no reason, or be able to go to the doctor or the dentist even if they don't have a job. Generally, when you look at the actual data, people would prefer that, but they recognize that right now there are no structures in place. There's no governmental or institutional structures to prevent the overreach of the free market. And so now we're stuck in a cycle of unconstrained growth, where the corporate overlords get to do whatever they want. They get to set whatever prices they want. They can demand whatever they want out of you, except for that little period, right? During the pandemic where people got a little bit of money. But now, of course, we're going backwards. That money is dried up. But also climate change. The lack of regulation that the free market offers to corporations who just want to build, grow, sell, pollute the earth, and make sure that it's uninhabitable for basically everybody in the global south and the east, and most people who don't have access to any kinds of financial protections today and in 5 years and 10 years and 20 years and 30 years. Obviously, we see the need for growth all the time, and the refusal of the people that we're voting for to say, hey, we got to do something to stop this. Of course, people are going to reject the current financial system. Duh. It's a Google search. People have no faith in private enterprise, no faith in the government. And yes, that is leading to definitely a distinct sense of nihilism among younger Americans, for sure. But whose fault is that? And the only thing that super rich people do is create more resentment when they come out and say that shit. Because it's like, not only are you not doing your fair share, you are co-opting these aesthetics, and now you're making fun of us. And making fun of us, the Black people who are saying that capitalism is not going to be the answer. I absolutely acknowledge my place here as a person of material privilege. What else do I have here? Oh, also, do y'all remember? Okay, remember after the Super Bowl when Beyonce did Sexy Black Panther, and Elaine Brown, who used to be the chairman of the Black Panther Party, at one point was like, hey, we were not about that. And the people were like, oh, Elaine, you're just jealous. And it's like, you guys, come on now. Or Harry Belafonte. Let's go back to David's article. We'll end it here. So Harry Belafonte, a little problematic, whatever. But also well known to be an active, engaged participant in the civil rights movement, even during the height of his professional career, called out almost a decade ago Jay-Z. And he said, I think one of the great abuses of this modern time is that we should have had such high-profile artists, powerful celebrities, but they have turned their back on social responsibility. That goes for Jay-Z and Beyonce. And then Jay-Z, clapped back something really, silly or whatever. And eventually they kissed and made up. But it's like, how old was Jay-Z in 2013? 40s. Solidly in his 40s. Anyways, I love aesthetics. I say this all the time. I think aesthetics matter. Aesthetics are important. Aesthetics say a lot about our politics. But we see that celebrities like a Beyonce, like a Jay-Z, we gotta call a thing a thing. they primarily view their relationship to Black community and Black people and Black radicalism as aesthetic. When in reality, Black people need material change, political change. And so aesthetics are cute and nice, and I love to talk about them, and I think that they're really important. But the reason why Jay-Z is going to continue to get dragged is because everything for him stops at the aesthetic. It's not useful. It's actually counterproductive. I have to do a book recommendation. If you are interested in learning more about this conversation, there's two people that you have to go to, Black scholars. Actually, there's more, but this is just what I read recently. You have to go to CLR James. You have to go to Cedric Robinson, Black Marxism. Of course, you got to get some Joy James in there. You got to get some Angela Davis in there. In conclusion, that's bullshit. And it's really ridiculous and embarrassing. And honestly, truly, that should also make you look askance at Beyonce as well, because they're going to bed together every single night. Okay, I will talk to you guys later. I gotta go. See you next time. Bye.